You hear the term artificial intelligence everywhere, right? But what does it really mean for something to be intelligent? It's got to be more than just a bunch of complex code. So in this explainer, we're going to build a real understanding of AI from the ground up, starting with the most basic building blocks. Let's get into it.
And that's really the core of it, isn't it? Before we can even begin to talk about artificial intelligence, we first have to get a handle on what intelligence itself even is. And to do that, we actually need to start not with the thinking, but with the thing that's doing the thinking.
So our journey starts with the most basic component, the actor. In the world of AI, we call this an agent. Just think of it as the thing that is out there in the world, sensing and acting.
So when you strip it all down, an agent is just something that senses and acts. A thermostat is a perfect, simple example. It senses the temperature in the room, and then it acts by turning on the heat. That's it. It's a simple agent. But what's the difference between a thermostat and something we'd actually call intelligent?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting, because we can see how this idea builds up in layers. You start with just a simple entity. You add some capabilities. It becomes an object. Then you give it goals, and now you've got an agent that reacts to what's happening. But the really critical jump is when you add motivation. That's when you get an autonomous agent, something that doesn't just react, but is proactive, driven by its own internal agenda. And that right there is the key. An autonomous agent isn't just reacting to what's happening right now. It has its own agenda. It acts now because it wants to influence what it's going to sense in the future. It's actively trying to shape its world to hit its goals. Okay, so we have our actor, but what makes it smart?
All right, so that brings us to the brain of the operation, intelligence itself. If the agent is the body, then intelligence is the processing power that's driving all of its actions. And defining it, well, that's a little trickier than you might think.
So let's start with a classic, kind of human-centric view. This defines intelligence as our ability to solve new problems, to reason things out. This is what we intuitively think of as smart, like a person figuring out a super complex puzzle for the very first time.
But this next one, this perspective is absolutely crucial for AI. It frames intelligence not as knowing everything, but as the ability to adapt when you have insufficient knowledge. It's about making the best possible move with limited information. Think about a rover navigating on Mars with only the data its sensors are giving it. That's this kind of intelligence.
And this definition, this is what really connects everything. It says that AI is all about the computations that link perception to action. Reasoning isn't some separate thing. It's the bridge in this continuous loop. You perceive the world, you reason about it, and then you act. That cycle is intelligence in action.
So if we put all of that together, you can see that intelligence isn't just one thing. It's really more like a toolkit. It's got problem solving, it's got goal setting, the flexibility to adapt, the focus to plan, and maybe most importantly, the ability to cut through all the noise and uncertainty to make a good call.
Okay, so we have an agent, and it's got intelligence. But there's another level, a higher level, because the ultimate goal isn't just being smart, it's understanding. It's the difference between knowing what to do and truly knowing why you're doing it.
Now, this is a massive shift in how we think about this stuff. Understanding isn't like a file you just download into your brain. It's a structure you have to actively build, piece by piece, and constantly fix up. It's a verb, not a noun. It's a process.
And this is pretty much how that building process works. You start with an initial idea, right? A sort of mental model. Then you have to crash it against reality to see where it breaks. That's your feedback. You adjust your model, you make it better, and then you try to apply it to totally new situations. And you do this over and over and over, and that loop forges a weak idea into solid, robust knowledge.
This whole process creates different levels of understanding. On one end, you got basic comprehension. That's like knowing what all the individual puzzle pieces look like. But true expert understanding, that's when you see how all the pieces connect to form one single intuitive picture. It's not just about knowing facts, it's being able to anticipate how the whole system is going to behave.
So, what's the engine that drives this whole process? It's something called constructive interaction. The idea is that real understanding is built through engagement, by questioning things, by trying to explain them, by trying to solve problems. It is an active sport, not a passive one.
So, we have our three core building blocks: the agent that acts, the intelligence that guides it, and the understanding that gives it all meaning. Now, let's snap them all together.
And this brings us to the ultimate goal, the intelligent agent. This is an entity that doesn't just blindly follow a set of rules. No, it reasons with competence, and that competence is built on a deep, active understanding of its world. You have perception, understanding, reasoning, and action, all flowing together in one powerful, continuous loop.
Which, of course, leaves us with a final, pretty thought-provoking question. As we build these AI systems that get better and better at every part of this process, perceiving, reasoning, and especially understanding, you have to ask yourself, at what point do the lines start to blur? What's the essential difference that's left? That's something to think about. Thanks for watching.